guys, this is Growth Beast, co-founder of Growth Stories, the first on-chain marketing newsletter in the space, and welcome to the fourth edition of our marketing minicast. Today we've got with us Apurv, co-founder of Intract, one of the biggest all-in-one Web3 platforms for user acquisition and community engagement. If you're a marketer, a founder, looking for exposure to over 5 million users, look no further. I'll fire up around 10 questions with about 60 seconds worth of answers. If that all sounds good to you, let's get started.
Let's get started.
Okay, so when people think about Intract, what's the first thing you'd like them to think about?
The first thing I think we'd like to think them with what Interact is, basically we have a real community of users. So pretty much very less percentage of bots and civil actors. So as a marketer or a community builder, if you want exposure to real Web3 humans, some of them have been super OG in the space, then this is the place for you. So basically real community building with very less bots is how I'd position it.
Are quests still a sustainable growth tool these days? I think this is probably one of the biggest questions for the podcast itself. There are sometimes complaints that the audience you might get through platforms like Intract or Galaxy may be just in for the airdrop.
Yes, I think they definitely have a place in the user acquisition funnel. The way to think about them is they are great if you want your first 100, 500,000 users, because you can get that very easily from the platform. And while there might be a lot of folks who just look for rewards, I think that's just the in general nature of crypto and Web3 today. Even if you try influencers or other channels, you'll end up attracting a lot of speculators. So therefore, it's important for you to also profile the kind of people you're getting into the community or into your discourse or into your platform, and understand basis that what kind of users you're getting, right? And quests are a great fit for at least DeFi protocols, because DeFi is like the most common application in space. And we have seen empirically around 20 to 30% of our users have been power DeFi users on various platforms. So long answer short, yes, great for the first few users growth. Obviously, if you want to get like 100,000 users, then probably have to launch your airdrop narrative and then hope it kind of, flies along with quests and influencers. But that's something that's not super repeatable most of the times.
Wow, 30-40%, that's almost 2 million people. What's the right way to structure a quest for maximum yielding conversion?
Very interesting question, right? And I think we have written a lot of content on that in our blogs as well. So the way to think about it is, if you're launching initially first, then you're looking for early adopters, in which case it should be very education driven. It should be more about, just helping you understand the company as a user. And then once you've gotten some brand visibility around 20,000 followers, maybe that's when you start thinking about, okay, now I have enough brand visibility. Let's focus on the most important actions that I want to do, which could be an on-chain transaction, which could be posting about me, which could be different kind of things, right? So first you educate them, then you kind of get them to do the right kind of actions for your protocol. Those protocols, those, actions can be on-chain, educational, social, whatever you want. And then once, you have gotten some feedback from users about your platform, that's when you start doing more kind of user advocacy kind of campaigns on our quests, which basically means more user-generated content, more going and getting more users to your platform, for example, via referrals, via business partnerships. And it's a secret sauce, right? So interestingly, around 20% of most traffic on all quests come from other users referring users, right? That's pretty cool, right? Because they're kind of, at least what we realize is, a big part of our community are micro influencers. They have these Telegram groups, these Twitter communities where they share some of these opportunities that they kind of find. So yeah, that's interesting. So you start with education, then you do product actions, and then finally, once you've gotten the buy-in of your users, you go for advocacy and referrals. That's at least how we structure it internally when it comes to our best practices for doing the quest.
How do you describe micro influencers? And speaking of conversion, right? Because that's what matters from engagement and Interact. What's the expected conversion rate?
Yeah, so who are micro influencers? Basically, micro influencers are these folks who have these Telegram groups, these WhatsApp groups, in fact, right, or Reddit channels, where they kind of talk about crypto to educate their own community. So the journey is very simple. You're basically someone interested in crypto. You kind of start reading about it, learning from others. Then you say, you know what, I'll start my own community, but I'll educate other people and I'll create these alpha channels or something like that. So that's what I mean by micro influencers. So at least a big percentage of our community claims to be micro influencers. That's pretty cool. And that kind of reflects in the referral loop that we've created. Talking about conversions, so typically the conversion varies. If you're looking at, say, having a very active airdrop points program, then you can expect from anywhere between, say, a 200,000 impression rate to something like a 50 to 60,000 actual user doing on-chain actions. So that's roughly around 40-50% of your entire traffic actually converting. But it's about if you have an active airdrop points program. If you don't have an airdrop points program, then the conversions can be lower. I think we have seen an average of around 10% for all kind of traffics you get. And it also depends on which chain you're at. So, for example, if you're in the EVM ecosystem, then most of our users, because they have funds on EVM, because the bridging is super easy, they can get into that very easily. But imagine if you're in the Bitcoin staking ecosystem. So we have like a lot of projects there. Initially, the conversions were very poor because people did not even know how to bridge from EVM to Bitcoin. In fact, I did not know that. Right? Over time, obviously, once you've done like 4 or 5 campaigns, the conversion rates improve. So it also depends on which chain you are kind of tied to, which ecosystem you're part of. And again, I think our platform is more to the DeFi, RWA, Deepen, and very less GameFi. So again, probably GameFi conversions might be lower. Although we had Tabi kind of got some 200,000 users, but again, because they had an active airdrop points campaign. So if you have an active airdrop points program, it'll be really cool on Interact at least, right? Because probably most of the traffic today is airdrop hunters, and there's no shying away from that. Obviously, there are like a lot of real users as well, like I mentioned, but then they look for really interesting protocols and not the same fork of an Aave or a Uniswap, for example.
I understand 40 up to 40 to 50%. That's
Yeah,
crazy. We have 47% open rate for our growth stories newsletter. So
that's pretty cool.
whoever's there, please subscribe. But we're talking conversion. What do you think is the most effective way to actually convert users from Intract to the specific project platform, right?
I think we have to go to think about again the user personas, right? So if there's someone who really knows your protocol, they probably are coming to Interact West from your own community. So you don't need to do anything else. You just need to make sure the instructions are very clear as to why they should do this quest, for example, right? That's there. But if you're a new person, then it's very important the moment the person lands on your website from a quest like Interact, you basically need to tell them what your protocol is about, and the messaging needs to be super sharp and clear. And then there should actually be an active support agent somewhere on the website or in a Discord where they have doubts, they can just go and ask these questions. These are some things that will help a new user understand your protocol better. And often, most often, the major question is how much fees will it take for me to do this action? What's exactly am I going to get from that? So you just got to have a very neat FAQ section as well, right? And if someone is like in the middle of your funnel, right, then it's important for you to understand from some sort of sampling or statistical validation what are the major questions they ask. So interestingly, a lot of actually users who are in the middle of the funnel. They know your protocol, but they're like, how does this protocol differ from these other protocol that I'm working with, right? And they should probably have a comparison chart between different kind of protocols, or some sort of your unique value prop, which probably can attract that person. So that's how it works. That's at least what I have seen in terms of conversions. One very practical strategy that we have realized: you first do only a social only campaign, just so that you can get enough eyeballs on you, and then you follow up with an on-chain quest in a staggered format. If you get the very first quest, which is like super complicated, you'll see a lot of drop-offs. So what you want is for people to at least get to know you. And then over time, you nudge them down the funnel. Classic, just funnel marketing like it works in Web 2 and even Web 3. I think there's no denying of that.
I agree. I totally agree on that. Do you work with projects to find out what challenges they have? And if you do, like, what have you seen so far?
Yeah, so we kind of started in the mid-market segment, and then we ended up having some very big partnerships with Linea, with Stocknet, with Star, with these big chains, right? And that's when we had to actually get into consulting them to kind of advising them and learning from them as well. So some of the very interesting challenges, right? Number one challenge that they face is Sybil and bots. So basically speaking, they tell that they have so many users, but how many of them are really humans, right? And that's where at least we have kind of realized our own niche, we're building out solutions with that focus on two major gaps in the space. The first gap basically is we want to make it very easy for someone who's human to prove they are human. On other platforms today, it's slightly difficult. Even if you're a human, it becomes very difficult to prove it. And second, it's obviously has to be, browser agnostic, country agnostic, these kind of things, right? So that's basically one of the major interesting learnings that you've had. Then the second, I'll say, interesting learning has been folks have their points program already live on their websites. So now they look at Quest as majorly a growth platform on top of their points program. So being able to integrate with them and provide them API services and backend services that can actually enhance their points program is something that is also a very interesting learning that we've had. And then there are some very interesting questions. People always ask how much reward should I give? What kind of quest should I design? So that's always there. And we have kind of over time evolved our playbook according to that as well. So that's at least 2, 3 major learnings that I see in terms of at least the quest space. There are questions on even influencers. So we have a big creator network and they ask which creator should we partner with, right? And then we had to create a framework of, this creator might work the best for you, basis your past history, basis their past history, their impressions, those kind of things as well. That's also there. I think one major question also is I want to create an on-chain quest. Now, how do I really create that? Because my developer is super booked. And as you might know, marketers are third-party citizens in any company when it comes to development bandwidth. So, that is like a big challenge, at least, that most of the companies face. And we have to convince the developers, look, it'll take you 5 minutes to do it. We'll help you, these kind of things.
Yeah, you're right on that note. I think the biggest piece of code that I've ever learned, which is not really code, is SQL. Well, I was a Uber in
Oh,
the product marketing team. Now, what do you advise new founders when it comes to growth?
if you are someone who's looking for builders, Farcaster should be a go-to market, because I think there's a big high density of builders there, right? So that's definitely one big advice that I'll personally give. Second, you should experiment with all kind of growth channels, because no matter what the wisdom is, at the end of the day, we have been surprised ourselves by how growth channels work for us. So quests, definitely, influencers, definitely, even performance marketing, right? So you'll be surprised, but basically we compared Web3 ad networks with Twitter in terms of just clicks on our platform. Twitter perform much better, much cheaper. So these kind of things also happen. So just keep that experimental mindset when you start, and don't do paid marketing unless you figure out a product market fit, which in crypto is hideous, because the moment you say token, you'll have like 50,000 users come to your platform. You may not have a product market fit. So just be very clear on when you have product market fit before you get into anything paid. Before that, try to be organic, try to grow slow, try to find your niche first. That's at least one thing. And then the classic, growth hacking wisdom, just reverse engineer what's working for your competitors, for other people in the space, right? And just try that out, which is where podcasts like yours, like T-Pans, kind of come into the play. Just learn from that, execute some of it. It really works out quite well.
What do you think has been you've seen the most compelling thing that catapulted Intract's growth?
Two, three major pioneering moments. One major moment was partnership with big ecosystems. So we were the first to actually integrate Polygon ZK EVM, and we did their Polygon ZK EVM saga. And then we had the Linea DeFi campaign working with us. So those are like the very big cornerstones, because when an ecosystem works with you, it kind of gets you a lot of visibility among the entire community of influencers, of users, of other projects. That's been one of the biggest moments of catapulting the business, to be honest. And I think the second one is just us pretty soon realizing that the users on our platform, they don't do the discovery on the platform itself. So they actually discover our quests or our company partners through Twitter, through Telegram. So being able to partner with the creator network and bring some of the journey onto our platform. So I'm not sure if you've checked our platform, but basically you have this news section also on the platform where you get daily news about crypto. That's one of those elements that you've added to enhance a user's journey on the platform itself, where they come to the platform not just for looking at the quest that their favorite influencer posted, but actually to discover new crypto news, right? And that's how you kind of get those retention and viral loops. So those two things, big partnerships with ecosystems and the creator network, along with just increasing the discovery aspect on the platform.
What's the most fulfilling thing about building Intract for you?
The most fulfilling thing about building Intract is just being able to really think about this very interesting problem of incentive design. So I think that's what is kind of flawed in the entire questing space, if you think about it, because you don't have the right kind of incentive structures designed for long-term retention. You kind of attract the wrong kind of users, and no matter what you do, right, the retention will be poor. Similar to, I think, what AGM mentioned, Antonio, right, from Spindle. So he kind of mentioned it in his blog about how paid marketing has lower retention than organic marketing. That's what is playing out still today in Quest as well. So that's like the most fulfilling thing, being able to think about this very nuanced, very interesting problem of incentive design, of how do you even structure a campaign so that you remove all the speculators and get the power users towards the end. How do you make sure you have enough hype, but also balance it with rewarding only the loyal power users of your platform? That's the most fulfilling thing, because I'm a big nerd of data, of just being able to look at stuff and try to find patterns. So that's, at least personally for me, the most fulfilling aspect of building Interact. And then just the kind of sheer love we get from some of our partners, because they're very happy with the kind of users they get. But then that's still something, an ongoing thing that we have been doing. So I won't say we are really there. We just need to work super hard for that as well. But yeah, we're getting there.
Nice. Yeah, I'm a big data fan, and that's why I kind of started this journey on when it comes to all things on-chain marketing, right? Data, justifying your decisions, looking at the actual funnel, and not kind of like throwing things at the wall and see what sticks. This is it. I mean, it's supposed to be a short one. Thank you for coming. I really want to see Intract grow double to 10 million users or more. And let's definitely do a campaign on this. I still think mints are the way to go in terms of getting your creations out there. So this is Mintable, guys. Definitely mint it. Subscribe to our newsletter. And Apurv, thank you again for coming.
No problem. Look forward to seeing this get out live.